Welcome back. Today is another exciting day. We have more new What's New 2021 SOLIDWORKS to deal with, you guys. We got a super interesting guest speaker today for at a halftime break when we start going down to Idis in the studio again. And I just want to quickly take the next few minutes to talk about the agenda over the next 2 hours as you join with us. So remember, this is a 3-day event. We have yesterday's event, which we will share with you at a later stage. We've got the event today, which is the multi-product day with our guest speaker, Robert Miller from the Eye Above. And then this second part of the What's New, we're going to be dealing with, we're going over to Pila Franji, one of our technicians, and talking about PDM and all things good. And then tomorrow, we're having an introduction into the 3D experience platform. So, again, you're going to be receiving a link this afternoon for tomorrow's session, so don't worry about that. It's going to automatically be sent to you. If you want to continue inviting your friends or colleagues that haven't registered yet to the event, send them to our website, MECAD.co.za, and continue registering if you'd like. And we're going to do something completely different tomorrow with a 3D experience platform. And I'm just going to go over to a little slide to show the results from yesterday's posting. So in the video, the build up, we spoke about LinkedIn, and we're providing Uber Eats vouchers, as a competition to those guys who posted online. And there was an overwhelming response online. I just took a few snapshots and showed a few of you guys watching the event live. It was really, really cool to see. It was really nice way for us to interact with you. Although we can't be with you in person, we can be with you digitally, and that was really fun. Let that continue today. We'd really like to see you do that. And again, it's the build up to the big prize tomorrow. We're gonna announce something really great. The way in which we're gonna give this drone away tomorrow. And I'm gonna play a quick little video at the end of today, and I'm gonna announce what we're gonna do tomorrow during the day. So don't miss that. Then, as I said, our guest speaker is going to be Robert Miller from the Eye Above. We'll talk about the drone project. It's very interesting. And then I want to just go over to this slide over here. Just a reminder of how do you get your posts, how do you post your photo. It's really easy. You go into your LinkedIn, you just take a picture of yourself watching the event at MECAD Systems, and you just make a little comment about how you're enjoying it. And hashtag MECAD Systems, so it's easier for you guys or us to search. If you want to look at all of the pictures that the guys have posted, just search in LinkedIn for hashtag MECAD Systems, and you get a wealth of photos and fun looking at everyone as they joined. So yes, what I'm going to do now is hand over to our first speaker, Rudolf van der Berg. He's our operations manager and elite application engineer. He's going to be doing section 1 of this morning's session with us. So I'm just going to put my screen sharing off. Rudolf, if you want to put your camera on, and I can hand the ball over to you.
Quentin, thank you. Let me just get my screen here. Share. Quentin, can you see my screen? You can hear me.
Give it a few seconds, Rudolf.
Okay.
I'm very glad to see that you've corrected the alignment of your certificates behind you. We had a lot of comments, a lot of OCD engineers in the room, and they were really upset about all of your skew. Thank you for doing that. Yes, I can see your screen. Have fun. Yeah, enjoy it, guys. Please, if I can just mention, if you have any questions, there's a pop-up on the side. There's a little chat there. Please go ahead and chat with us, engage questions and answers. We're going to be handing out documentation. So just have a look on the side of your screen. I'm pretty sure you are familiar with the interface by now, but be interactive. Let's chat. Enjoy, Rudolf. I'm going to turn off now and over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Quentin, for that introduction. So, hi, everybody, and welcome to the second day of our virtual launch. Hope you guys enjoyed the first day. So, just some of you might know who I am from previous webinars, but for those that do not, my name is Rudolf van der Berg, and I am an elite app support engineer at MECAD Systems, and also recently been appointed operations manager here at MECAD. I've been working for MECAD for almost 7 years now, and I am based in Cape Town. All right, so today myself and Pierre Lagrange will be taking you through the What's New 2021 for multi-products. As I go along, please post your questions in the question boxes, and I will try and get to them, but my colleagues will also keep an eye on them. Right, also keep an eye on for some handouts and promotions in our sessions. Right, so today we'll be specifically focusing on these 6 topics, which is e-drawings, visualize, simulation, flow simulation, plastics, and routing. So some of the topics I will demonstrate live, and some I will play videos and explain the enhancement that has been made. All right, so sit back and enjoy. First up, we have e-drawing. So as some of you might already know, e-drawings Professional is available in SolidWorks Professional and SolidWorks Premium. And then the e-drawings viewer is free to download. The first enhancement for e-drawings 2021 is that you can view the custom and configuration specific properties of SolidWorks files in e-drawings, which is really nice. Also new in 2021, you can now have some added options when you measure distances between your planar and cylindrical to cylindrical faces. And then finally, the web HTML. So the web HTML, the improvements there is that you can actually go and measure and move your components in the web HTML. But let me quickly show you this live. So I'm going to open up e-drawings quickly. I hope you guys can see my e-drawing. So let me just play here. All right. So as I mentioned, you can now view custom and configuration specific properties in e-drawings. As you can see there, which is really useful. All right. Another thing, this is not new, but for those that do not know this yet, this is just a small tip for you. If you go down under your components, and if you click a specific component here, it will actually highlight it in your graphics area. Just a small tip for you. All right. Next up is the measuring enhancement. So as I mentioned, you can now measure between 2 cylindrical components, or you can, in previous version, you could do that as well. But now you have the capability of actually selecting the type of measurement. You can do minimum distance or maximum distance, which is quite nice. And then finally, for the measuring, you can measure between a cylindrical face and a planar face, and it will give you the normal distance. Right. And then sharing your 3D design without installing the free e-drawings viewer is really easy. You just save it as a web HTML. So you can go to File, Save As, and then you have the ability to save it out as a e-drawings web HTML. All right, let me show you how that looks like. All right, so let me quickly open up this HTML. There we go. So any modern web browser natively opens up these files, allowing the recipient to pan and rotate, zoom, as well as view the configurations, exploded state, section views, and much more. E-drawings web HTML format now supports the measuring capability. So you'll see here on my left, I've got my measure capability. So here you can measure between, let's say, that face and then this face, and it will show you the distance between them. Really useful. And you don't have to install the e-drawings viewer. And then also now in the e-drawings web HTML, you have the ability to move components and rotate components. So I can take this assembly apart. So I take that part out of there, and you will see I can actually rotate it, zoom in, zoom out, and it's just a nice way to, different way of looking at your assembly. All right, let me quickly jump back to my PowerPoint, and then we can continue. All right, next we have Visualize. SolidWorks Visualize is a separately purchased product that you can use with SolidWorks Standard, SolidWorks Professional, and SolidWorks Premium, or as a completely separate application. And if you are on subscription and have a SolidWorks Professional or Premium license, you get Visualize absolutely free. Okay, so let's quickly jump into the new features for Visualize. The first one, and I think this is really cool, is the SolidWorks configurations are now directly imported into Visualize 2021. Really useful. You have more control over your displacement mapping. I'll actually show you this live. You can now do capping cut planes with your defined color on that cut plane. Another feature which I am excited about is the toon shading. So toon shading mimics the style of a comic book or cartoon and provides characteristic paper-like texture. I'll show you an example of that. Also new in 2021 is that render layers has been replaced with render output passes. So if you guys have used that before, you will know what I'm talking about. But let me quickly jump into Visualize and show you this. Open up Visualize. First up is the, as I mentioned in the previous version, you can only access the last save configuration in Visualize. But now in Visualize 2021, you can actually import all your configurations of SolidWorks. So you see, if I go to my configuration manager here, I've got a few configurations here. Now, if I go to Visualize, I export this out. We'll take all those configurations with. It's quite nice. All right, let me show you that. So if I open up Visualize, as you can see here, if I go to my drop-down menu, you will see all my configurations is now shown. I can choose between them. So I'm going to go and click on that one, and let's go further. All right, so in the previous version, a single click on a part will actually just highlight the part on your right, and you can actually go and transform that part. Now, new in 2021, if I double click a part, it will take me directly to my appearance, which is really nice. Just saves you that time where you don't need to switch between different tabs. All right. This bracket housing is actually manufactured in-house with a 3D printer. So I need to add that 3D printed texture. So I need to go and adjust this appearance. I'm going to show only this bracket. All right, and then I'm going to double click that part to go to my appearance. And now I'm going to go to my displacement maps. So I'm going to add a bump map to my to the spot. I'm going to use the 3D printed texture. I'm going to open that one up. All right. So displacement maps are one method of giving surfaces these types of textures, which are based on a grayscale image that tells the software how much to offset the actual surface. Right, these maps are a great way to add complexity to your model. So I'm going to change my type to displacement. This is new in 2021. I'm going to change my depth to 0.05. Click OK, accept that. Now, new in Visualize 2021, displacement map densities can be defined. So if I go to my texture mapping, I change my displacement density to 1500. And I'm going to select apply this to my geometry. Okay, just waiting to calculate the displacement, and you will see the results just now. There we go. As you can see here, a nice 3D printed part. Right, so this opens up a ton of possibilities with creating and rendering complex surfaces that are often skipped during your CAD design process. Okay, but this displacement map is a little bit extreme for a 3D printed surface, and I'm going to use one that was already saved in a previous project that I made. So I'm going to go to my library. I'm going to go to this particular folder, and I'm going to drag and drop a previously saved appearance onto my component. I'm going to accept that. And you'll see this is also a 3D printed appearance. It just looks a bit smoother. And I'm going to edit this part, and I'm going to change just the rotation of my layers to 45 degrees. Accept that, and this looks much better now. Right. So let me just switch back to show the only part again. So I'm going to go back to my configurations again. I'm going to go to brackets and housing. Here we go. All right, so this isn't the only part that's going to be designed and manufactured in-house. A few other components is also going to be 3D printed. So what you can do is I'm going to select, drag and drop that part on there, appearance, and just another shortcut. If you hold in Shift and right click on a specific part, it will take that highlighted appearance and copy it over to the other parts as well. You can see there. Just saves you a lot of time. This isn't new actually. This is from the beginning of Visualize. It's been there. All right, but this is now all parts that's being produced in-house with the 3D printer. And we can continue. Just like in detailed drawings view, section views are a perfect way to illustrate your hidden features of a design. Visualize has brought in this the thing called the section capping. So if I go to my model, I go to add a new cutting plane. You have this ability now to display cut plane caps. So if I enable that, you can actually specify a color you want to add to that. I can accept that. All right. This is a really nice way to have a different perspective on your design, on your Visualize renders. Okay, going back to my, switching to my different assembly again, to this first one. I'm just going to go ahead and show all the components again, show everything. There we go. All right, and we are back at the web table suppressed configuration. All right, there are times when a photorealistic render isn't the right visual language to communicate the concept. So what I'm going to show you now is the tune filter. So available in, just copy this, available in Visualize Professional 2021 is a new tune camera filter, which is perfect for giving the artistic and conceptual design look. You'll see under my filters here, I can enable my tune filter. So if I accept that, it's going to take a while to load, because there's a lot of data to process. And then you have different types of presets. There's a handful of presets, effects like white on black, black on white, the ambient occlusion, and you can do the custom tune preset. And you can actually go and change your edge colors, which is really nice. All right. Let me just switch back to this camera here. All right, when it comes to creating renders, nothing beats the speed of Visualize with the hybrid engines coupled with your AE denoiser. So if you guys don't know about the denoiser, you should have a certified graphics card, then you have this ability to use the AE denoiser. But that was brought in, I think, 2 years ago already. So just make sure you are using that. The previous releases of Visualize allow you to actually generate rendering passes through a specific thing called your render layers. So new in 2021, this is now called render layers. And previous version, you could only render out one of these layers. Now, new in 2021, you can actually render out all of these layers at once in the same rendering process, which is really powerful. All right. Let's jump back to my PowerPoint. All right, just while I quickly take a sip of water, let me just show you what is possible in Visualize Professional with the animations. All right, so I'm going to quickly play you a video. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was all made with Visualize Professional with the animation capabilities. So it's really powerful. All right. So let's move on to my favorite multi-product, which is simulation. I will discuss the terminology changes in the next slide because there's a lot of terminology updates. Let's continue. So if I can sum up the changes in SolidWorks simulation for 2021 in one sentence, I would say that SolidWorks did a lot of effort in making the solver faster and also improve the accuracy and the behavior at the intersection areas. I'll show you this live now just to demonstrate this. This is really exciting for me. Because easier setup and faster solving times means that you get your work out much faster. But let's quickly jump into the enhancement in more details, and then I will show you them live. Right, so as I mentioned, the contact stabilization, this resolve instability issues, improved bonded formulation, so it's improved algorithms that mesh the body independently to drive this improvement. Enhanced blended curvature-based measure, so the blended curvature-based measure and also the curvature-based measure has been improved based on the optimized code architecture, multi-threading, and the parallel multi-core processing. This is very powerful. A new mesh diagnostics tool is available. I'll show you that now. And then also the automatic solver has been updated and improved. All right, but let me quickly show you these enhancements in action. So I'll jump right into SolidWorks. Let me open up this part here. Not that part, sorry. This part here. Just waiting for it to load quickly. I need to open up the main assembly just to show you where this bracket is coming from. Okay, so to validate how this corner mount assembly will perform, I will actually go and isolate this part and do an analysis on this bracket part. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up that bracket assembly, as you would see here. And I'm going to do an analysis on here. I'll discuss these two studies just now. But for this part, I have actually applied some external load, a bearing load, and also some fixed hinges. So that's the only fixtures and loads that I applied to this particular model. All right, to reduce the calculation requirements, the hardware components are set to use draft quality mesh, because I don't want a high quality mesh on these hardware components. So you'll see these components here are actually set to be draft quality. So it just saves you more time. And then next up, if I just quickly look at my results here, if I click on my stress results, let's have a look. All right, so the results actually looked really good, and the study was set up and solved much faster than in the previous version. So to see how fast your study actually solved, you can actually do a comparison yourself. You can go to your mesh details here, details, and you can actually see the time it took to solve the study, to actually calculate the mesh. All right, so you can do your own comparison there. All right, so the new properties that I spoke about was the gap and stabilization with full contact. I'm going to show you where you get that. So under my global interaction, I'll edit this definition. You will see there's a new thing called gap range for bonding. So the new properties for bonded and contact interaction specify the gap and stabilization regions to automatically make your simulation more robust, even for models that is slightly with slightly imperfect geometries. All right, so I'm going to show you an example, and I'm going to do a comparison between two. So you will see I've got two studies here at the bottom. One I've set up to be a 0% gap, and the other one is set to 0.01% gap. So let's do a comparison and see the results. I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to go to my compare results option. I'm going to compare the two stress results, these two stress plots. I'm going to accept that. Let's have a look. Okay, so if I zoom into this particular area, so we see the clearance between the bolt and the nut and plate are automatically recognized and treated. So this is the one with the 0.01% gap clearance, and this is the one set to 0%. Right. So with that gap clearance on, you will see it actually takes that clearance between the bolt, nut, and plane. It recognizes that automatically. Okay, so it saves you a lot of time from inaccurate results and spend troubleshooting your study. Come, let's continue. I'm going to show you the next one is obviously the next one is the interaction area. So the area where there is interaction, previously known as bonded, are also more accurate now with simulation 2021. For these contact interaction, cylindrical, spherical, and conical geometry correction factors are now integrated. And for the bonded interaction, improved accuracy is also built in. So this enables you for a more robust mesh where interacting components don't share the common mesh nodes. All right, but let's do a mesh quality check plot. So I'm going to exit this. And this is also a new feature. I think this is really powerful. It's called the mesh quality diagnostics. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to change my Jacobian points to add nodes, poorer than 5 of them, or greater than 5, and I'm going to accept that. Right, so what it shows me now is the poor elements in my analysis, of in my study, in my mesh. You will see it actually isolates those elements for me. All right, but it gets better. What you can do here is you have the show mesh helper. So if I click on that, it actually shows you exactly on which faces in your model it actually gives issues. So you can go and select all of them, and you can apply a mesh control, a refined mesh, whatever you want to do with them, you can change that. Okay, so this is a really helpful tool for meshing. I think this is powerful. All right, let me show you the last thing for simulation is I spoke about this already, is the solver. So they changed the solvers and actually did a few changes in the automatic solver. So the automatic solver is actually now much faster. And the choice to choose the solver on automatic, it takes your computer into mind and choose the correct solver for you. All right, so when it comes to solve the study, choosing the right solver can save a lot of calculation time. This is why this automatic solver selection algorithm has been optimized to better account for variables to give you the best run for your study and your computer. So of course you also have these other manual solvers that's also available for more experienced users. So you can choose from there as well. Right. But I'll suggest you leave it at automatic if you are new to simulation. All right. So let me just show this quickly, the displacement plot, and I'm going to play this. All right. So some of you might have noticed that there's some terminology updates. I'm going to discuss this now with you guys. So let's jump back into my PowerPoint. All right. So as you can see here, this is the terminology updates for SOLIDWORKS Simulation 2021. So why these changes? So this was introduced because it now matches the conventional industry terminology and better represents the enhancement we've seen here. I think these changes does represent the type of action better. But let us know in the question box. I'll launch a poll later on. Quentin will launch a poll later on, and then I'm actually curious to see your guys' responses on these changes. All right, but let's quickly go through them. So the changes are specific to what has previously been named local contact sets, component contact sets, and contact visualization plot. Right, so you'll see it's now called interactions between components. The bonded remains the same. So bonded means bonded. The contact is now called no penetration. Free is now called allow penetration. Allow penetration is now called free. All right, so this is the changes made. So the component global bonded option, previously known as compatible and incompatible mesh, has also changed to the advanced option called enforce common nodes between touching boundaries. This in itself gives you a more accurate description of the difference. So a compatible mesh only occurs for global bonded contact where components come together with coincidence. The mesh is uniformly meshed together like a single part with shared nodes. When you select this enforce common nodes between touching boundaries, the selected components are meshed as one body. These components behave as if they are welded or touching their boundaries. So just Quentin, before we continue, can I just ask you to launch the poll question? I'm not sure if you already did that, but I just want to find out from you guys when you think about these terminology updates. I know there's a few guys that actually asked for this. There was a few enhancements for this because it's just an industry standard. So I think this is good that they did that. The compatible and incompatible mesh always confused me. So I'm glad they just put this now in as enforced common nodes between touching boundaries. It's just a better description of what exactly you achieve. I'm not sure if the launch the poll has been launched.
I don't know if can you hear me? I've launched the poll, so you know we're almost halfway through the responses now.
Okay.
Give it a few more seconds, and then I'm going to close it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, overwhelmingly 99% of the people is they're happy that it's matching with the industry standard, and
Awesome.
most of them say they're going to get used to it.
Yeah. Good. I think this is also got to do with the 3D experience platform to match with this industry standards, like the interaction between the components. So I think I'm really happy with about this. I've got to mention there's also it's not in my slides, but I read up on this for the what's new in 2021. You now have the ability to actually switch planes. So if you've selected, let's say, an edge or a face, you actually have the ability to switch them around now between your blue box and your pink box. Remember, if you select a solid element or a shell element or shell face, then you need to switch them over so that they actually work. So you have that ability to do that now. So you don't have to deselect everything and select everything again. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so I think let's move on to flow simulation. So I know there's a few guys here that will appreciate these changes, especially the first one. So rotating regions now can now be combined with free surface with that free surface feature. So the free surface feature is enhanced in SolidWorks Flow Simulation 2021. Enabling you to include rotating regions and solve mixing simulations more accurately. The columns are also improved. You can now see the minimum and maximum values and actually see where on what time that actually minimum and maximum values occurs. All right. So you can create scene templates, the improvement in the flux plot. So if you have used the flux plots before, you will know this is really useful to understand where it is coming from. So now in 2021, new option in this flux plot is called the group all by items. So this type you can actually quickly check the energy balance in your system. Right. And then you can do customizing visualization parameters. So let's quickly, I'm quickly going to show you this. So not big changes, but I'm excited for this rotating regions with the free surfacing feature. All right. So I can show you. So SolidWorks 2021 Flow Simulation expands the type of CFD problems you can solve. And they continue to improve how projects' results are processed. So the rotating region is a powerful feature that is used to simulate fluid driving motion of rotating components. Now in Flow Simulation 2021, as I mentioned, rotating regions can be combined with free surfacing feature. Really powerful. This is ideal for mixing tasks and can be leveraged further to gain more insight into your product performance. All right, so for this specific thruster we're looking at, we are solving for the torque and the power requirements when it interacts with the two separate fluids simultaneously. So we are going to create goals for this, and we can actually track these outputs. And we can go to these goals, if we edit that goals, and we can go to the history section of the goal plot. Their values can be viewed throughout the duration of the study. So now with Flow Simulation 2021, new columns provides a summary table, make it easier than ever to find the maximum value and exactly when they occur. Creating common plots to visualize results is now even more efficient by using the new create plots from scene command. So you can even create the same plot in multiple projects all at once. Just activate the plots to view them. So if you create one or multiple plots that you want to use in another project, you can simply select all the plots and you select create scene template option. So now you're ready to create your various custom plots in any other project with only one command. Very powerful. So another common application for SolidWorks Flow Simulation is heat transfer. This vehicle enclosure has multiple electrical components inside that generates the heat. The enclosure itself designed to act as a heat sink. But how can you determine exactly how the heat is moving from one place to another? This is where the flux plot comes in. So it provides a graphical interface so you can easily understand where the heat is coming from and where it's going. So a new option in this plot is to group all the items by type. So this so you can actually check the energy balance in your simulation. Okay. So investigating specific areas in the model can be done by creating the cropped region for your results. When you click the automatic plot minimum and maximum, they are now calculated from the crop region, so you can clearly communicate the range of values without further manual modification. Another improvement with goals is the ability to calculate the minimum, average, and maximum from a selection of plots of goals. For example, you can discover the maximum temperatures across the batteries or the PCBs without the minimum setup. And then lastly, the further reduce your amount of manual calculations, custom visualization parameters can now depend on other custom visualization parameters. So for instance, this Magnus formula for calculating the dew point temperature is a great example where you can use this functionality. So just set up the items in the engineering database once and they are ready to use for your past, current, and your future projects. So really powerful stuff. Okay. Next up, we've got my SolidWorks plastics. So I know there's a few guys that is eager to see what is new in plastics 2021. So some powerful new features has been introduced. As you would with simulation, you can now actually free define your setup before you mesh. You can set up everything and then you can mesh at the end. This saves you a lot of time. Okay. Excuse me. Let's look into these new features in more detail. So you have the ability to do a multi-material overmolding injection process. So the injection process can have one or more injection units, up to 6, I think. So for example, a gas-assisted injection process uses 2 injection units, one for the polymer and one for the gas. Similar, a 2-shot overmolding process uses 2 injection units for the 2 polymer materials. And then in Plastics 2021, enhanced modeling of the baffle and the bubbler flow channels has been introduced. This enables you to create accurate hexahedral mesh across those baffle and bubblers. The more accurate the mesh representation improves the overall accuracy of the coolant flow and the mold cooling solution. And then also the material database, they did some improvements there. You can now access the plastic, coolant, and metal material database before creating a plastic study. It's quite nice. And they have added over 300 new materials from global manufacturers. Okay. So before I show you these in action, just another poll question, Quentin, that you can maybe launch for us. So the question is, Are there anybody on here today looking at our presentation day 2 that uses more than one injection unit in the same cycle? So as I explained, so is there anybody here that does one or more injection units in the same cycle? It would be interesting to hear what you guys got to say.
Okay, Rudolf, I've just launched the poll, so
Right there?
Yeah, so I've launched the poll, so we just give it a few more.
So it's going to be interesting to hear what the guys say here. What's the results looking like already?
Yeah, most of the people. There's a few guys that have had that are saying it's great and they're going to use it, but most of the people are saying, it's just really interesting to see. They don't really do plastics, but they're really interested to see what's possible. But yeah, there's about 10% of people are saying, they can use this, so that's good.
It's good to know. I think also the materials added that they added over 300 new materials. That's really good.
Absolutely, and what's nice about the materials database is that they you don't have to wait for service packs on mysolidworks.com and the the mysolidworks. They're adding materials to the what is it called, 3D Content Central. So I know you can actually go to 3D Content Central instead of downloading a bolt or a nut. You can actually download materials, and they spent a lot of time. I know last year, just last year and the year before, they actually drove around in cars to visit all of the manufacturers in Europe, to get some of these big brands to be on board. So yeah, that's really great to see.
It's amazing to see how they actually improve every year, those actual material databases.
Yeah, and plastics is one of those products like electrical that's done very well. We've sold a number of these licenses in the last year, and it's one of these up and coming big rises. Because
especially with sorry,
go for it.
Yeah, so especially with the meshing as well inside of plastics, I think the meshing capabilities inside of plastics is really powerful. But let me show this in the demo. So SolidWorks Plastics 2021 gives you the insight into new injection molding processes for your design, as well as continuing to simplify and streamline the setup process. So a new injection molding process is available now in Plastics 2021, as I said, to accommodate this multi-material overmolding. This manufacturing process is perfect for parts like this that requires a self-protected covering molded over a rigid plastic. So, as I mentioned before, you can now fully define your analysis before even meshing is required. This starts with selecting material for each injection process. The SolidWorks Plastics 21 has added those 300 new materials from global manufacturers. For the first injection, one of the new ABS materials from the BASF will be used for the main body. The second injection process will use another material, a thermoplastic. So once the material for each injection process has been specified, you simply need to apply the material to the associated domain. In this case, the ABX to the part body and the TPE to the overmold part. So SolidWorks Plastics make it easy to define other critical elements in your plastic analysis as well. For instance, you can define cooling channels without the need to physically model the mold. So SolidWorks Plastics 2021 significantly improves your simulation results by creating more realistic baffles and bubblers with these virtual cooling channels. All you need to worry about are the specifications for each of these types, which includes the parameters like the outer diameter, the height, the thickness of the blade and the baffle channel, and the internal diameter tube in the bubbler channel. You'll see how these changes impact the mesh shortly. Like the cooling channels, you can define a runner system and a virtual mold, allowing you to analyze and look at multiple scenarios for your injection process before investigating time and energy in designing and modeling the complex components for the mold itself. All of these domains, like part geometry, can now have the materials apply to them prior to any meshing taking place, allowing you to fully specify components in your plastic injection analysis. Other critical mold design elements such as injection location can also be defined directly on the 3D model without the need for meshing and geometry. So by referencing the geometry itself instead of the mesh, it saves time setting up different design scenarios, as well as automatically updating when 3D models, the 3D model itself. So you can actually update, it will keep that data. So all of these boundary conditions in the plastic study can be defined geometrically this way. The other includes the elements such as your cooling channel inputs and outputs, as well as stuff like your clamp forces. So the entire plastic analysis has been defined geometrically and vertically. This makes the file on disk smaller and portable and more adaptive to change. Okay, so they're now fully meshed and modeled appropriately, giving you more accurate simulation cooling results without the need to fully model the cooling channels and physical components. By defining the entire simulation study on the 3D model and the virtual domains, it has enabled a more dynamic workflow where you can actually look at and evaluate different scenarios in your design before any of the heavy lifting is done. So the results themselves, which includes the new multi-material overmold injection process, are now more accurate when considering cooling, giving you a confidence in your injection molding process before you even start designing or investigating time and money in the mold itself. So this is a really powerful enhancement from SolidWorks. I'm excited for this to try this out. Right, so then finally we get to the routing. So this is quick. I know I'm running out of time, so let me make this quick. So for routing, the main enhancement for routing was electrical routing. So Pierre will do the electrical side. So this is actually it's part of that demo set. So let's have a look. So you can actually do clips. You can add clips through. You can have the clips and you can select multiple clips or multiple wires to go through that clip. Sorry, and you can actually define how the cable appears inside of that clip. You can lock a root segment, and then lastly you can actually splice in your root without the component. So the guys that's doing electrical wiring, you actually will know what this is all about. So it is rare that you see a design that does not use mounting clips to secure the wires or the cables in place. In SolidWorks Routing 2021, the enhanced root edit through clip functionality is introduced. So we already arranged the yellow and brown wires to go through the clips. However, the red and green wires are only partially secured through the few clips. So let's edit that root. And we're going to choose this root edit through clip tool, and then select the axis of the clip and choose the two wires that should go through that clip. So in the property manager, the new arranged root selections allow you to manually arrange those wires with user-defined offset, merge those roots to a single point, or auto-arrange those roots. So we will repeat this process for the clip on the other end and secure the red and green wires through that clip. So it's really easy now to secure those wires. And that's basically it for the routing part of the multi-product. And that's also it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this first section of multi-products, and please feel free to chat to me in the chat box. And we are excited for the interview now with Rob. If you've guys got any other questions, you can.
Rudolph, thank you. I actually do got I've got one question here from Raymond. Can the SolidWorks do refrigeration cooling simulation? There will probably be a flow simulation question. Have you had that before?
Yes, Quentin, you will be able to do that. You will probably be able to do that with the cooling module as well. So you will be able to do that with flow simulation.
Okay, perfect. And Leslie, you had a question as well about conformal cooling options as metal, as 3D with 3D metal printing or 3D printing with metal. Absolutely. So, with flow simulation, not so much plastics, but definitely with flow simulation, there's a lot of options when using cooling. So, flow simulation is not just fluid flow. You can combine, fluid flow and heat dissipation and thermal analysis as well for heat transfer. So, absolutely. And I know, Leslie, you guys will have those kinds of, at the educational institution you guys are at, with the research, you will definitely be able to have access to that stuff. So, you have a chat with me and Rudolph, and we can help you out with that. Thank you, Rudolph. There's no other questions. I think we can get more questions on the chat if we have any. Please go ahead and do that. Yeah, thank you, Rudolph. Awesome job. Well done. We're now going to go down to the studio to have a conversation with Edis. So Wesley, if you guys want to just transfer us downstairs, this little studio setup we've got downstairs is working pretty well. We got Robert Miller here from the VI above, and he's going to be sharing the development story. He actually was a guest speaker with us last year at our event in Cape Town, and we thought we're going national this year, so we wanted to do another chat. It was really interesting, and it's a project that we've been involved with Robert for a while, and it's getting to an exciting climax now. And I'm sure those of you who were in Cape Town at last year's event will want to hear what is the update, where are we, is it flying? Last time we saw Robert, he was standing at the top of a mountain, ready to throw the prototype off, and we don't, last time we were left wondering if it was going to fly or not. So, over to you, Edis and Robert, and I look forward to hearing the update.
Thank you, Quentin. So, yeah, welcome, guys. I've got Robert here with me. Yes, and as you say, there's a lot of Cape Town customers that know Robert from last year's launch, and they've been following him keenly on the project and following. So let me just quickly introduce Robert. Wesley, you can bring up his bio. I had to bring clip notes today because Robert has done basically everything there is, involved in the screen press industry for 30 years, co-founder of Hamel Road Software based in the UK. In his spare time, Robert has got into biohacking, and they actually wrote a paper on the NAD deficiency effect and how it can predispose certain people to COVID. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but Robert just mentioned to me that paper actually influenced ICU procedures in South Africa during this time. So one thing I can say about Robert is he doesn't wait for people to act. He climbs in, he acts, he tackles stuff wherever is needed. And if you need any help, Robert's always there to jump at it. What Robert's been keeping himself busy for the last few years, since 2017, I believe, is the Eye Above anti-poaching drone project. Robert's going to tell us now more about it. He's the head of the UAV design for this project. And Robert, I'm going to give over to you. Whether you can bring us back to the studio. So Robert, yes, you can tell us a little bit more and start the presentation.
So the project came about when we realized
with your project being a non-profit organization.
Yep. So we set out to provide aerial support for anti-poaching activities, and we started off making the same mistake a lot of other people have made, whereby we tried to buy an off-the-shelf solution and make it work in the anti-poaching arena. We realized very quickly that wasn't going to work. Then we looked at what had everyone else done and why didn't it work? And once again, we realized very quickly we were going around in circles. So we stepped back and said, okay, let's rather understand what a drone needs to do or a UAV needs to do to function in the way we wanted to in the anti-poaching arena. And that was a whole different exercise. That resulted in this very unconventional looking aircraft.
Yes.
Which was designed specifically to address the needs of an aircraft in the bushveld,
yes,
in an anti-poaching environment. As you can see, there are 3 companies listed there, SOLIDWORKS, MECAD, and AOC. They're our premier partners, and without these 3 companies, we wouldn't be where we are today. The support and the assistance and the technology that they've made available to us has been unbelievable.
Yeah, and I can say from MECAD's perspective, it's been a privilege working with you. The things that you expose us to in the technology and in our software.
And you guys have been unbelievable. Every time we need you, you're there.
Thank you. So, yeah, no, it's a good partnership. You put together quite an interesting team of gentlemen with quite unique capabilities. So
we did, and it was kind of by accident. It wasn't intentional. So the first thing we realized is we needed a good aerodynamicist. So through a whole lot of contacts, we found Dr. Becker van Niekerk, who designed the wing and the tail section. And when you actually see the performance of this wing, it's unbelievable what he did. Then we got Carl Crick and David van Niekerk. Van der Merwe, sorry. Carl is an expert when it comes to simulation.
yes,
He's also a very, very competent mechanical engineer. David is an exceptionally competent mechanical engineer and an expert at topology optimization. So when you take the skills that this team has, okay, it really, really went a long way to making sure this ambitious project succeeded.
yes. So you've actually got a guy that's brilliant at your wing design.
Yep.
Then you've got a guy that can do your aerodynamic testing. We're gonna look at that stress analysis, and then one of the biggest things in flight is reducing weight, and that's where David comes in.
David van der Merwe comes in.
Yeah.
So it's the dream team. I don't think we could have intentionally set out to build a better team.
Excellent. Yeah, I think you can take us to the actual aircraft there.
So yes, it's a very, very unconventional design. It's a new concept as far as VTOL aircraft goes, in that it's not a tilt rotor.
Yes.
Or not a traditional tilt rotor. The front propellers are there for one job, to get it into the air and to bring it down efficiently. It's designed to take off and land anywhere. It doesn't matter what the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's designed to do it autonomously. We want to limit the amount of human interaction in its flight as much as possible.
Okay. The next slide is actually quite interesting with the folding wings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, talk us through that. It looks quite interesting.
So we started off with a flying wing, the off-the-shelf,
Mm-hmm.
and we noted something very interesting: ground effect. Now, a copter's easy. Once you turn off the motors, a copter falls out of the air. When a fixed wing, especially a high-lift fixed wing, starts to approach the ground effect, okay, stops it landing. In
Yes.
fact, some of those fixed wing or flying wings don't want to land. They just, you bring them down and they just carry on forever. Add front motors, or very, very powerful front motors, and you increase the ground effect. And what we noted is that fixed wings start to become very unstable as they approach the ground when they're trying to land. So this wasn't just a fixed wing aircraft that had a propulsion system slung under the wing. Every component was carefully thought through. So what we realized is if you drop your outer wing, you change the lift characteristics of the wing, and it actually makes the aircraft more stable. Yes, it adds complexity, but it's phenomenally more stable.
Okay.
And then we said to ourselves, hang on, we're already dropping our wings. Why not put landing gear on the outside of the wings?
So now you're saving on landing gear and everything like that.
Well, we don't have to have retractable landing gear.
Yes.
We don't have fixed landing gear that obscures the camera. We have a 360-degree view from the camera, and we solve the ground effect problem.
Wow,
So
quite
solution.
Quite an ingenious design there.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to go through, how your design process a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But this design actually took you to, developing a structure where in the end it all revolved around the wing.
Yeah. So if we have a look over here, this is a sort of cutaway cross-section of the aircraft with the wing skins transparent. Now, one thing Becker was adamant about: a propeller can lift you in VTOL mode, or a propeller can fly efficiently forward. It can't do both.
Yes.
So we said, okay, we want to be as efficient in both modes as possible. So most of the work is done by our big front propellers. Now, normally you would have a motor mount in the front and the back, which is great because you balance the force on the wing. By having one large propeller, we introduced a torsion force
Yes.
on the wing. And it was evident very early on that a normal spar and strut system wasn't going to work. The wing tended to twist. So we had to design a wing structure that could resist that. And we went through various iterations. We realized very early on a honeycomb-like structure was going to be the best option. But the tools to develop that structure and to optimize that structure don't really exist yet. especially when there's a wing skin that's built in. So it's been probably 2 years worth of work coming up with a final structure.
Yeah, I actually remember it's about 2 years ago where you came to our offices and say, I need a honeycomb structure. And we started getting into this, and we realized it's much more involved than what we originally thought,
It looks simple. We're running 8-core Xeons, 128 gigs of RAM, and Quadro RTX 4000 graphics cards, and we can still actually crash them.
Yes.
Just with the complexity of the structure.
Yeah.
So it's been learning how to navigate around the crashes.
Yes. And yeah, but it's such a complex design, but what you've come up with and where you started from, I think has been brilliant. And we're going to go into a little bit more about the design.
Yep.
The other thing that you did was you actually developed everything so that it is kind of modular.
Yeah,
but that you can manufacture everything through 3D printing.
So we took a different approach. So let me show you here. Essentially, what we have is we have a wing and a cell.
Mm-hmm.
All the load is in the wing cell. Now that's the structural component. Everything else just bolts on. The tail's connected by a boom, but this is the critical component because this is actually the only load-bearing structure. And then we designed everything to be 3D printed, modular, so that you can actually just bring it together, bolt it together, and if you break a part, unbolt it and replace the part you broke.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your 3D printing. You've got some examples here as well.
Yeah.
Just take us on to the next slide. So that is more depth of the structure of the full wing.
Yes.
And you refer specifically to the skin being a actual part of the structure.
Yeah. So what we did is we designed a honeycomb structure and optimized it, and we're talking thousands of CAD hours here to manually optimize it, where you're not only relying on the walls, you're actually using the skin of the wing as an integral part of the structure.
Yes.
And the end result was, if I take a segment of the wing, a structure that looks something like this.
Yes.
This is an earlier version. It's been heavily optimized since this. Now, if we have a look at this,
Bring us to the studio view. I want you guys to see this. Robert brought us another little component.
So this is a little piece we built to understand the characteristics of PA12. That's a 0.5 millimeter thick.
Well, just PA12? What?
PA12, a nylon PA12.
Nylon PA12.
It has no rigidity and strength. These translucent sections are exactly the same thickness. As you can see, they are unbelievably strong. There's very little deformation. And just to give you an idea how strong this part is, and Edith always cringes when I do this.
This is not acting. Robert's put a lot of force. I can see him shaking there.
You can't break it. In fact, we've actually stood on this. I don't know anyone who's going to let a 90-kilogram person stand on a small aircraft wing, and we'll try to do it later. This part has been abused, so it may break, but Edith has actually seen this part being trodden on a few times.
Yeah, and if you stay tuned, Robert's gonna put his body on the line. He's actually going to stand on it right here. So let's stay tuned for that. So Robert, I would like to go through the design process. We spoke about how do you tackle something like this, and I think the next slide is. Have you got it there? Okay, so you first built or your first idea was to build a foam core wing, the normal standard thing. And
well, actually, no. We always wanted to 3D print, but the technology wasn't available in South Africa to be able to do what we wanted. So we created a foam model. This is the one that people in Cape Town would have seen last time. This all looking very pretty, but never having flown. We decided we didn't have the money to do conventional testing like wind tunnel testing. So Carl is an absolute wizard when it comes to simulation. And this is actually one of the simulations Carl ran. So we simulated everything in SOLIDWORKS, and we said, right, we're risking everything on the fact that SOLIDWORKS simulations.
So you verifying that this aircraft will fly purely in flow simulation.
Yeah, that the flow simulation says the calculations that Becker used were correct.
Okay.
Becker's going to tell us he would have always told you they were correct. So we built a foam model. This was just a purely milled foam model, and we threw it off a mountain. Okay. And the question everyone wants to know is, did it fly?
Yes, that was just shortly after I launched last year. So a lot of people has been waiting for that. Wesley, play us a video of where Robert actually threw this off. Robert, what was the feeling like at this stage?
So you could have heard a pin drop. And I think Quentin and the MECAD team were sitting there, and the SOLIDWORKS team was saying, we know it's going to work. We know it's going to work. And there you can see it flew exactly as expected. In fact, it was slightly too light. And at one stage, it caught the breeze, and it didn't want to come down. It just wanted to climb.
Yes.
So this is a glide test. There's no motor. There's radio control, but there's no motor. If it gets into trouble, it only has its aerodynamics to save it.
Yes.
And it was unbelievable to see how closely the results matched what SOLIDWORKS said.
Yes.
We could expect.
So it flew exactly as expected. So
Yeah.
You must have been quite elated at that point.
Relieved, very relieved. But at that stage, we were still considering a foam construction. And then we discovered that the first HP MJF units had come into the country. So we took the decision to redesign for 3D printing.
Okay, and this is the specific HP printer that you're utilizing.
Yeah. So the first step, and I think this is, Rudolph luckily covered a lot of what we're going to be talking about now earlier,
Yes.
was using CFD to understand the pressure on the wing and the forces acting on the wing. So Coral did a plot. We started to understand what loading the wing had and where the loading was. We then converted that loading into force plots.
Okay,
Now,
so I just want to put that for everybody into context. So Carl would use the CFD, the flow simulation software, to get the information out, and then plug that into the stress analysis side, into the FEA side.
So Coral has been absolutely brilliant. In fact, I know he's on the chat. He should take a virtual bow.
Yeah,
because
Coral.
It's been phenomenal working with Coral. So in the top one, you now have the forces plotted on the wing. And you can see blue is the lowest force, green, dark green is the highest force. Nothing is in the yellow, orange, or red. So we know already from this that the wing is performing within its material parameters, well within. Next is to understand what those forces do to the wing. So here we have a deviation plot. We want to know how much the wingtip is going to move under full load. And this is just the core. The internal structures, the additional internal structures haven't been inserted. And we've got a 21.53 millimeter deviation at the wingtip, which has been reduced to about 14 mil when we put everything in, and that's nothing.
Yes.
The wing is well within the tolerances we were aiming for.
Yeah, no, that's quite amazing. And you've got an opinion about, using the simulation tools to the extent.
So maybe we should just move on and show people. So the next challenge, we have a waterproof rating, which means our speed controllers are enclosed. Their heat sinks don't come into contact with the air. So we have a piggyback heat sink. But the question is it going to work? So once again, Coral models the thermal properties, and we know already that at 100% efficiency, with the motors running flat out, we don't melt our airframe.
Okay.
So we have a set of tools, the simulation tools, that troubleshoot. You can design anything, but is it going to work? And as I said to you earlier, there's a product on Kickstarter where it's now been delayed because the guy said, we went to prototype and we found the materials didn't work well together. And my question was, so why didn't you simulate it?
Yes.
We've seen enough from SOLIDWORKS now to know you can simulate within 95% accuracy what it's going to do in the real world, which means no retooling, no redesign, or minimal changes.
Yes. An interesting thing that you mentioned is that your prototype is actually a flying airframe that you design, and that is just, you put it through the stress testing, but it just confirms all the results that you already have.
So I think, okay, before we get to the prototype itself, the other thing we do with simulation is there are some very complex parts, especially as far as motion goes. So we simulate how the parts are going to move, and we check for interference that will stop them. So Wesley, if you could play that for us. This is the flap assembly. And it's not a conventional flap, okay, that just goes up and down. It actually, like a real aircraft, it moves away from the wing to create a slot. Very, very complex. And once again, Coral modeled it, refined it, made sure that there was no interference, and it moves smoothly. Normally we'd have to print it, check it, refine it, print it, check it, refine it.
Yes.
Here we know that there's a very good chance when we go to print, it's going to work the first
It's going
time.
to work first time.
So before we get there, yes, getting back to the question about how we've built the parts. Each part is a functional component, not a testing component. So we print a section, we put it into testing. When the section passes the tests, it gets brought together with other parts to build the actual flying airframe. So we don't intend having to go through various print cycles.
Yes. So the actual thing you print is what's going to go into the aircraft and fly.
Yep.
Now, you've always, we've known you pushing hardware to its limits with your design, and then also coming up with great ideas to solve hardware problems. And the latest thing is just, you say, having the correct screen is making a massive difference.
So this is the UAV on a 27-inch screen. And a lot of the time we're working very closely looking at components. The problem is, this is a very, very big multi-body part, and there's lots of components all over, and very often you need to see everything. But that means you're zooming in, zooming out, zooming in, and sometimes we're talking 200-300 bodies, solid bodies, which slows everything down. So AOC came to the party and allowed us to get 49-inch screens.
Wow.
And it changes the ballgame. Let me tell you, if you don't want to buy a 49-inch screen, don't ever try one, because you're not going back to anything else. I mean, that's exactly the same zoom factor.
Yes.
And what we can now see and the amount of area we've got to work is just a game changer.
Yeah, and I do believe what Quintus showed us, the 2021 capability with moving controls around is definitely going to assist, and that's, as more people start using these type of screens, there will definitely be more development to allow for that as well. Yeah. So I think, Robert, take us on to your final slide.
So yesterday was a very, very big day for us. While this may look like just some parts on a table to most people, this signified a major milestone. Yesterday, the drone was no longer theoretical. It moved from design to manufacturing. So the parts started arriving, and these are the components to build the first test airframe, which has gone off for 3D printing. So it's been a long journey.
Yes,
but we're finally moving forward.
You're keeping us tied in. I think everybody is going to wait for the next launch. Then or we'll give feedback, I think, through the year. As soon as your first one is flying, definitely. And you'll share with us, and we'll definitely share it with everybody that's very keen on seeing this.
So, do you want to show people this test?
Yes, let's see, guys. So this is live TV at its best. Let me zoom out.
So first of all, just tell people how light this part is.
So let me just get the camera in here that we can see this. Okay, guys, this is paper thin. It actually feels like cardboard. So I cannot imagine standing on this.
Okay, let me just put it where people can see it. Okay, here goes nothing. Okay, that's 90 kilograms of weight on that part. And is it damaged?
Absolutely not. Unbelievable. Guys, if you don't feel this and see this, you won't experience what this means. And yes, it's a mechanical design that all of us do all the time. But actually, I know all the iterations that Robert and the team has gone through with this, and it's quite exceptional. And there's even capabilities for this to being used in different other applications.
We're looking at that. So that is the early version. The newest version is 25% lighter than that, and it's as strong.
Wow, yeah, unbelievable. Robert, thank you again for sharing time with us and doing the presentation for us. It's always interesting to see what you're keeping yourself busy with, and I think you're always pushing the software to its limits. And with a team like David and Carl, and I think it's just amazing what you guys are achieving. So
I think your engineers often cringe when we say, "Guys, we've got a problem." It's like, what did you break now?
But we're always up for the challenge. So that's brilliant. Thanks again, and all the best for the next phase of your project. We're keen to see what happens next.
We'll definitely keep you updated.
Yes. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Robert, it's normally if your team calls in, it's, oh no, these really smart guys can't solve it. How on earth are we going to solve it? But I wrote in the comments, what's been amazing about your project is the collaboration. it's not just one or two guys sitting in a room. You're working with multiple people from around the country, different parts of Cape Town. And it's amazing to see, how powerful, a collaborative team can be. So yeah, well done. Thank you, Robert. That's super interesting. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, good.
Okay, super. Now I'm gonna hand back the baton to me, and I'm gonna just talk for a second around the competition. Guys, thank you for all of the pictures that are continually coming in. So we got another 45 minutes left of the day. I'm just gonna share my screen for 1 second, and I want to just show you something. Screen, and I'm gonna share my screen. There we go. So, we've had, the LinkedIn where we've had all of these posts. So while you've got some time to think now after the event, what we want you to do tomorrow is come up with the most creative idea around, watching this, the webinar tomorrow is going to be 3D experience platform. It's this new era, it's these new, new technology, which we're going to show you. And in tomorrow, we want the theme of your photo to be creative, get as a team together, get wild, do something funny, do something creative. It's really up to you to be creative as you want. And we're gonna have a look at the photos, and we're gonna award the winner of the best photo, this drone. And as we go, through the end of today, as I sign off, I'm gonna show you a little video clip of the drone, just to keep with this drone theme today. And I just want to get you excited about it. So yeah, that is something that you can look forward to. I'm now going to hand the baton over to Pierre. Pierre, if you want to turn on your screen, he is also one of our newly minted elite application engineer, which we'll speak about towards the end. Pierre is our in-house PDM guru and master of many. So I'm going to hand over to you, Pierre, and enjoy. We'll chat to you in a few minutes. Go for it, Pierre.
Thank you very much, Quentin. Just want to make sure, Rudolph, everyone, you can hear me and you can see.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Let me start my screen share. Let me just give it a second. Welcome, everyone. So my name is Pierre Lefranci, like Quentin mentioned, and I'm just going to continue with the conversation that Rudolph started with the what's new multi-product. So what I am going to look at now in this second session, let me just start this, is my agenda is going to be, I'm going to look at the PDM, then afterwards we're going to look at Composer, CAM, MBD, and as well as electrical. So like we've mentioned now, and in the chat you've seen, please continue with the chats. Everyone will keep everyone up and ready there. And like I said, I was smiling like a kid when I saw that playing, but when we go into this new PDM 2021, I'm again smiling like a kid. PDM is the one product that I truly and genuinely love from SOLIDWORKS, because I know for all of the engineers, it actually helps you get all of your data together, help you to collaborate, help the team manage it. And in SOLIDWORKS 2021, in the PDM 2021, there's some great new improvements. And some of the most important improvements I'm going to go through you today. Okay, so first of all, you can just see that the user interface actually stayed the same. So I'm just going to go and go back into there. So I'm just showing you the user interface. Everything looks the same from the get-go, but they've added some really great improvements. So let me just go there again. So first of all, some of the important changes that have been made was in the interface, and with the collaboration with Microsoft and Windows, some of the support we actually got in was that some people or some companies or different users, they want to have either the details view or the thumbnail view, and you normally had to go and change that within the settings of Windows. Now, new in PDM 2021, you'll see if you go now to your view option and you just hover over the extra large icons or the large icons, it'll actually go and change it accordingly. So there's no need to go and change the Windows Explorer settings and apply to all folders. So you can just go through them all. But remember, the power of PDM lies in the details view. So I'm just going to go and select the details view. The reason for that is we want to show more information in our details view, in our columns. And new in PDM 2021 is the ability to actually chop and change between your column sets. So previously in PDM, you could only assign one column set, and then you can either, according to your user or according to your group, you can have that one column set. New in 2021 is I can now go and right click, and we have the option to do column set. So you can go and create multiple different column sets for the same user. So if I just quickly want to go and approve a file, I just want certain information to show. So let's say I want beginner, I can only show that information. Or if I right click again, I can say, okay, no, I'm doing engineering work, I maybe want the intermediate or the advanced one. You can just right click and select the column set that you want. Taking all of this now into account, SolidWorks decided, and the developers decided, okay, let's use this and actually incorporate that in other aspects of PDM. So this column set option can now be used in, there's quite a few. So you can do it in your check-in, your check-out, you can do it in your state changes, in your contains, in your where used. Almost everywhere where there was options available for columns, you can now go and right-click, change the column set. And I think that's really a great change that PDM has made now for 2021. So I'm going to showcase that as well, but also now new in PDM 2021, while we're at it, is they've added shortcuts to just speed up the time that you spend. We have to go and right-click, check out, or check in. So there's now new shortcuts for check-in, that's just Control-I, or check-out, Control-O. And then if you want to do a state change, it's just Control-T. It's just so much easier to do it like that now. So I'm just going to select these three, and I'm going to press Control-O for checkout. It'll bring up my checkout dialog. And like I've mentioned, if I now right-click on my column set again, I can go and assign multiple column sets to it, so I can just go and select the one that I actually want. I think that's really a great change made for PDM 2021. While we're at it, you can actually see that there is now options here at the top. So normally it was just below the home, share, and view. We had your checkout buttons and your get latest button, but that was as is. Now new in PDM 2021, there's a setting under your user settings for the quick access ribbon. And the nice thing about that is you can actually go and change and go and select what is my go-to buttons that I use. So for example, if I use check in and check out, maybe I don't want to use the shortcut, so I can just put it in my quick access ribbon. Certain information that I want to show there, you can just go and add that. I'll just show that in the admin tool quickly as well. So if we go on our users, settings, we have a new option here available that is called quick access toolbar. And I can go and select what information I want to show for that quick access ribbon there at the top. So mine is now just currently set for the check-in, check-out, and get latest, just as an example. But you can just go and take any one of these and just go and add it to the right-hand side. Okay. While we're in this administration tool, the one thing that the PDM administrators and some of the users will actually recognize is that, hey, there's new icons. So new in PDM 2021, there is loads and loads and loads of icons that you now can use and assign them to your states and also to your transitions. So in previous versions of PDM, I think there was more or less 20 to 25 different icons that you could use, and it wasn't really informative. Now new in this PDM, if I select, as an example, this review, I click on change, you will see that there is almost 100 different icon buttons. So even from manufacturing, going down for costing, you can see all of the different options available. And they are actually all listed in specific folders. So if you want something for cost, engineering change, or operations, you can go and change that accordingly. It just makes it a lot easier, a lot more visible for the user. And when we are in the user interface in Windows Explorer, there's actually now an icon next to that state so that you can actually just see that. I really think that is a great announcement that has been added. Okay. Next off is on the bill of materials side. So normally in the previous versions of PDM, the cut list properties and the bill of materials was a disjointed system. So new in PDM 2021, SolidWorks are actually incorporating these options of a cut list into the bill of materials. And I think a lot of manufacturing companies will love that because they just want that one bill of materials with all of the information within it, and they can just go and export that with thumbnails and send that for procurement. So the setting that has now changed in the administration tool under my bill of materials is now the option to include cut list references. So you can either do the Weldman cut list or the Weldman BOM. There's also an option available for include derived part references. Also a great way to just show all of that information in one bill of materials. So just to quickly show that, if I look at the part 2445, it is just one of the brackets that is part of this assembly set. I can go and look at my bill of materials, and it's still the same CAD BOM with the information now included as a cut list option. So under my type, I can actually see that that is a cut list option, and it's not actually a part as part of the parts. So if I just go over to the assembly, we can now see that that assembly has the normal parts. And then if we just go down, we'll see all of the back plates, right plates. So that is the cut list parts now included into that bill of materials. And I really think that that is really great. Then, like you've seen maybe one of my MECAD minute videos, I've created one where we use the treehouse view for the contains tab. And now new in PDM 2021, SolidWorks has taken that same technology and just added that to the where used option. So in the where used, we can also now do a treehouse view. So if I again take the same example and I go to the right hand side, I have a treehouse view now available. I'm just going to click on that. And this is now my treehouse view showing where the bracket is referenced or the assembly is referenced, and then the parent assembly is where it goes to. And the great thing about this as well is you can now go and just see directly, okay, I want to go and make a change on this one part. What are the other parts or other assemblies that are affected? I can just go and multi-select them and then right-click and do a checkout. As easy as that. I think that is really a great enhancement. And just for those that maybe doesn't know, you can actually go and export these options with thumbnails. So that is also great to just go and put that in Excel. You'll have all of the information that is in your treehouse view. You can put that information then in this Excel document with the thumbnails. Okay. So that is that for the user interface for PDM. I really believe that is a great feature changes and great options that has changed. So again, I just want to show you again, there is those options. I'm currently under where used, and I just right-clicked and I wanted to change that column set. Okay, so it's a really nice enhancement, and you'll actually see in my administration tool all of the different options available for those column sets that I also spoke about. So it's your contained, where use, change state, check-in, and everywhere. And everyone is actually separate from each other. You can then also just select, okay, this is my preferred option. So every time I open PDM in Windows Explorer, my preferred column set will show. Okay, I think let's just go back into my PowerPoint. So I just highlighted the main options. So it's just first one was just the File Explorer enhancements. We can assign multiple column sets to users and groups. We can now support that cut list references in the computed bill of materials. The different icons that has been added, the treehouse view for where used, and then also I'm just going to quickly touch on this. So SolidWorks and the developers spent lots and lots of time and developing how to get files quicker. Performance is very important for us as engineers because we want to push out files quicker. So there's great performance enhancements for PDM 2021. And just some of the key areas is for adding files, checking in files, and state changes. So it's almost 1.5 to 3 times faster to add files, and check-in is almost 25% faster. And then some of the other options like destroy, or if you have folders containing larger numbers of files, if you do large number of checkout or check-ins, that has been drastically improved. And that's really a great improvement for SolidWorks. And I appreciate that, because we don't want to spend time just waiting for something to be checked in or checked out. And then again, the same goes for assemblies and large number of components. Like Quentin mentioned yesterday with the assembly performance and the drawing performance. So even for your files that is currently in PDM, there's a drastic improvement in time for the opening of files, saving files, switching windows, and everything like that. So that is a good thumbs up. I can see quite a lot of the PDM users. They can't contain themselves, because that is very important for us. Okay, let's go over to Composer. So some of you might not know, but SOLIDWORKS Composer, it allows you to quickly create 2D and 3D graphical content, like if you do product catalogs. It's also a tool where you can incorporate your 3D CAD data to create high-quality illustrations, photorealistic images, interactive animations, and import loads of different data sets. So, like Rudolph also showed with the photorealistic images, you can do some of that in Composer as well. This just shows the user interface. So I'm just going to showcase the Composer with a quick video. So let me just go over to that. Let me just start the video. Okay, so whether you're documenting assembly procedures, product installation guides, or manuals, even replacement catalogs, with SOLIDWORKS Composer 2021, creating this content has never been easier. So when importing a new assembly into Composer, it is recommended to select the appropriate import data and import operations. New in in Composer 2021, this open dialog gives you more control to actually access configurations of the parts in Composer that came from the SOLIDWORKS assemblies, same as with Visualize, so you can now do configurations. And there's plenty of great rendering styles in Composer, and to get the right look and feel for your final documentation, you can select flat technical document display options, and this will be perfect for illustrating square robots cleaning it. So just before we go into this, we can go and change document properties. So new in Composer 2021 is the ability to show hidden edges, and we can also go and change the color intensities. We can also do the highlights. So just as before, we can also then actually go and take the colors for the parts and assemblies and use model highlighting and just apply that to our project. So previous versions of Composer also has the ability to modify other document properties. And some of that was to change the viewport background, remove the gradient, adjust the background color, also changing the size of the paper space. So in this, you can also go and change the inches to millimeters and vice versa. Now, new in PDM 2021, we have the ability to save this document properties. Same as like in SOLIDWORKS, where you can actually save your settings out. You can now do that in Composer so that you can reuse that for your next project. That's really a great enhancement. Okay, so the next step for this replacement catalog is we're just going to create some views of the different cleaner head options. And Composer offers quick ways to hide and show components with the right mouse pop-up. So with this, hiding all of the unselected components and leaving just the desired cleaning head assembly. So now new in 2021 as well is the updated user interface. And like you see, we can take this configuration option and we can now go and dock it on the right-hand side. It just makes it a lot easier for us to use. So we have different options on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side. So it's just easier use for the engineer. Okay. And then in this view, there's lots of handful parts that are actually hidden. There's now a new setting in Composer 2021. It has the ability to toggle visibility on and off. So it's highlight in the viewport invincible actors belonging to selections. So with this option on, you'll receive direct visual feedback, what is actually the hidden and shown components for each of your selections. Another great enhancement. Okay, so each variation of this cleaning head assembly needs its own exploded view, and that's no problem in Composer 2021. So for this view, all of these cleaning blades can be selected with a single click. We can do an exploded transform, and as we click on them, we can do the callouts for the numbering and descriptions of the part. So that is really a nice tool to use. And then great new enhancement is the ability to actually push all of this information into the 3D Experience platform. So tomorrow, Irfan is going to show us some information on the 3D Experience platform, and Composer has that ability to put this native Composer files directly into the Experience platform. Okay, I think really they spend quite a lot of time in Composer to adjusting the settings that is important for the Composer user. And again, this will just help all of the engineers just to get all of their settings together, the user interface together, so that you can actually spend less time making changes. Some great enhancements. So for Composer, just the key areas that has changed and what is now new in 2021 is the configuration control. So with the configuration control, as soon as you open a file, you can actually go and select which configuration you want to load. Then you can control the display of hidden edges, as well as highlighting of invincible actors. Then there's also, again, time spent with load improvements. So in 2021, you'll see in the left-hand bottom corner, it actually loads the files. And you can cancel this operation if you feel that is not the correct one you want to do open up. So that is also a great change that has been added. Then you can also save multiple configurations to Composer files. So like with opening, you can also save multiple configurations. Then you can also share that default document properties, like I've mentioned. You can just go and save that out and reuse that for the next project.
Pierre,
yes.
Sorry, we've got 2 poll questions. Don't you want to just can I launch
Yes.
those poll questions for you before you run on?
Yes.
Let me first do the one for the Composer, and then we can do the one for PDM.
Yes. Okay.
So just give me a second. I'm going to start the polling here. So this is: do you create your own product manuals, catalogs, or assembly instruction documentation? Just be interesting to see how many of you actually create your own manuals or documentation. It'd be really really interesting to see how many of you actually do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it'll be good to know if the companies do their own design and if they use Composer for it.
So we're almost there. It's really it's neck on neck, 50%. So half of the people that have joined us today do that kind of thing. So that is really interesting. I'm going to close that poll and just do the last poll, which is going to be the PDM. So the question is, are you aware that you can use PDM standard if you've got professional and premium SOLIDWORks? So some of these features that Piers mentioned today already is you can have access to that if you've got professional or premium SOLIDWORks. So we have been speaking about this a lot at these kinds of events, but maybe there's some of you out there that are not really aware that this is possible. And I can tell you that PDM is by far the most popular product we have next to SOLIDWORks. We've sold a number of 100 licenses of that in this year. It's been an incredible year for PDM and MECAD. And the sheer success of the product is shared with our customers, and it's one of these tools that is well received by the users and companies alike. So most people are aware of it, and there's a good 30% that isn't aware and like to know more. So we will share more information with you guys. You can reach out to us on the chats. We're going to be hanging around afterwards. So thanks, Pierre. I'm going to close the poll and back to you to continue with Cam.
That's good. Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, it's always good to know if the companies actually use that PDM, and if they have the ability to use it, why not? It just always makes your files so much secure. And then as well with Composers, if you're already creating your manuals, you can maybe start to use Composer. If you don't have Composer, you can start to use that. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to CAM now. So SOLIDWORKS CAM 2021 gives the manufacturing floor more automation with its expanded stock option, enhanced drilling and operations, and also control over where you manage your posts. So let's now look at a quick video of SOLIDWORKS CAM. And this is very important for production scale. So how to take your SOLIDWORKS design and seamlessly just take that into your manufacturing. Okay. So now new in PDM, sorry about that, in CAM 2021, you can do default stock bounding options. So you'll now notice when you go to your stock type, you have a predefined bounding box option. And in this example, we can do a predefined option. And I can, for example, put in 6 inches for the length, 6 inches for the width, and a 0.375 inches for the thickness. And the great thing about this now as well is I can go and save this to my technology database. And I can go and classify that as a material so that I can reuse it later on. We don't have to go and create it every time we use it. Then, after we've now saved this, So with the automatic feature recognition, you can generate an initial strategy under minutes. So you can take this and simulate the tool path, and once you feel that your tool path is looking good, you can go and look at the specific operations that has been created. So we are now, just after the simulation, going to go in and look at one of these drill operations. So I'm just going to edit that, edit the definition, and go into the different options. So under my drill hole parameters in 2021, I can now define the pick parameter with respect to the tool diameter. So if it's a percentage, or I can do it according to the flute length, again with percentages. So of course, we can use this and the technology database to store how we want to do this on the shop floor. And that just means that all our preferences becomes our next defaults. And within 2021, you can actually go and save that out. So first of all, just looking at the operation parameters, we can go and change that. And now if I've decided, okay, I've got stock of an 8-inch bar, I can go and actually go and add that. So when I change it to the 8-inch wide bar, I will make my changes to that predefined stock that I've created. And now in 2021, as you can see, a new prompt for rebuild is presented when the stock is modified. So everything from the coordinate system features to the operations that needs rebuild, you're now more aware of exactly actually what is needed to update your programming. So just speaking of updates, how about we use a cylindrical stock? So new in 2021, I can go and create cylindrical stock automatically. So there's an option to do cylindrical. So Cam will fit a minimum diameter onto my part automatically. And then I can see, okay, maybe it'll just not fit in perfectly. So I can go and then change that to a specific size that I might have in my shop floor. So I'm just going to change that as an example to 8 inches, or I can do an offset. So you have the power to go and decide what you want to do and what your sizing would be. I think that just also makes it a lot easier for all the manufacturing companies just to go and use their own stock that they actually have in the stores. And then again, we can just go and simulate that same toolbar. I think that's quite a great feature to do the simulation. So now as well, normally you save it to your C drive, all of these operations. These posts and the post processes can now be saved to a default post location, and you can also do a UNC part. And this is actually a great thing that has been added, so that you always have your database locations at a specific area, and all of the different engineers, they look at that same database, so they don't have their own databases that they have to actually administrate on themselves. And I think that's really a great enhancement that has been added. So SOLIDWORKS CAM 2021 gives your manufacturing floor more automation with exploded stock options, the drilling options. You have control over where you want to manage your post. And I think this is just a great way of how to empower all of our milling and turning companies. Okay, so just a recap of the main ones that has been added is the stock types that are now available under the stock manager. Like I've mentioned, the bounding box and the cylindrical stock that has been added. Then the rebuild data when the stock parameters are modified. Then as well as there's now end conditions for part parameter features. This is very helpful in automating and maintaining consistency between our parts and our programming. We can go and define the pick amount for point-to-point operations, either as a percentage of the diameter or a percentage of the flute. And then those settings that I've mentioned, you can now actually go and save those post-processor paths to either to your C drive or onto a UNC path. Okay. The next one I'm looking at is MBD. It's SOLIDWORKS model-based definition. So this is just an alternative to creating 2D drawings, which will help us define, organize, and publish all those 3D product manufacturing information, or better known as PMI information. So that is just the industry standard format. So 3D views provide us an easy way to organize and the information and everything that is there and the PMI data, and also removing ambiguity and making it just easier for us to understand. So new in 2021 is the datum targets. So you can now actually go and add datum targets to your MBD parts, and you can also go and then dimension those datum targets to certain areas of your part that you're creating. And then with that as well is we can now do bend tables in the 3D form, the 3D PDF. So when we create our bend tables and we take this MBD file and we export it to a 3D PDF file, the 3D bend nodes and the different nodes will be included into that 3D PDF. That's also really a great enhancement for MBD. Okay, so when you get the PowerPoint and the slides, you can just go and read through it, but it's just basically saying that we can add dimension targets, we can measure them, we can hide them, and you can also do error checking to provide actually feedback to the engineers and make sure that your datum targets are fully defined. And then just for the PDF, the 3D PDF, as you'll see now an example, is that those bend nodes will actually be in that 3D PDF. It's really a great enhancement that SolidWorks have added. Okay, and then just the last one that I'm going through is electrical. So SolidWorks Electrical is a very important product for us, especially for your ECAD and everyone, a lot of companies use mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and like I've also done in some of our webinars is where we can actually incorporate electrical, the mechanical world into a PDM system, everything. So a lot of time was again spent with SolidWorks Electrical, and the system has greatly been improved. So this will include all of your power systems, use controls, and the complex wiring and harnesses. So I'm just going to go and have a quick look at electrical. There was actually quite lots of different what's news for electrical, and all of the electrical engineers. I can think you guys are going to be amped for this. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. So just looking at some of the options available is you have now the ability to do more symbols for terminal strips. So with a terminal drawing, you can either do with a manufacturer part or a terminal symbol can be used in the schematic. And this will allow you to have different representation of the terminals in the terminal strip drawings. Then there's now a new option. You can exclude from bill of materials property in the manufacturing part property dialog. So this property propagates into assemblies and 3D parts, and then you can just go and use that and filter it in a report configuration to hide or show these components. So it's just a little tick box that has been added, but that tick box has a lot of emphasis on it. Then for all of the electrical engineers that uses Excel and you want to maybe push the information to Excel, so there's now a new add-in for Excel automation. So within Excel, you have this SolidWorks Electrical button that you can go and install and get all of your information from there. Then for managing wires, there's 3 new options for wire management. So you can draw lines without wires. You can remove the wire when you disconnect it from a symbol, or you can just merge the wires when you delete a connected symbol. And then I think one of the great enhancements for Electrical 2021 is the ability to, when you do your archiving, you can now go and schedule that. It's more or less the same as with your task scheduler, where you can actually go and set up a time for the archiving of the environment. You can now go and decide, okay, I want to archive my environment tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, just before I arrive in the office. So it just takes the time away from where you normally start the archive, as it might take 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how big your project is, and then you go and make your coffee. Now you can schedule it. You can just come straight in the office, get your coffee, sit, and start to work. So I really think this will enhance the time spent for the electrical engineers so that they actually work more and they don't have to wait for the environment to finish first. Then as well, there's a new program that is part of the installation of SolidWorks Electrical 2021. So this program is called SolidWorks Electrical Viewer. So you can now go and actually view project drawings using this electrical viewer. So you don't have to open that entire project in SolidWorks Electrical. You can just use the viewer program, more or less the same as like you would do with e-drawings and SolidWorks parts. You can just go and view that drawing in this electrical viewer program. Then you can create multiple drawings simultaneously. So you can now either go and select from a book or a folder or a drawing. You can just go and select them, select the quantity and the type of drawing, and you can go and create multiple drawings simultaneously. That's also a really great enhancement. Then there's now an option for generating separate routing assemblies of cables. The great thing about this is normally when you had your route path and your route profile and you had to create it, it just creates one assembly. You can now actually go and specify that each one of those routes must have their own sub-assembly. So you can go and specify this separate routes in the cable properties. So you can go and either select one, several, or all of the cables, and then just run it, and then it'll just go and put them all in place. And then a great enhancement of Electrical 2021. And I think, and I strongly believe that all of the electrical users will love this. So you will now have the ability to use splines for routing. So remember, electrical work is never just squares and boxes. So you always have to try and create the splines. Now, new in 2021, you can actually use splines and arcs to define that routing path. And you can use the splines in the sketch to define the routing path. Or you can just route the model by splines. So I really believe that is also something that is great for all of our electrical engineers. And I've just taken the time to just make this one video, so where we just actually showcase that. So let me just start this video. So like I've mentioned, not all designs are squares and rectangle shapes, and we will need to use splines. Especially in the electrical world, we can now use this enhanced route harness functionality, and that will now actually support both splines and lines to create the route path. So when we create this route path using those splines and lines for the harness, that connects the transducer to go under and already routed cables, and it will also follow along the wall. So let's just adjust some of these arcs and curves and obtain a smoother path. So it's as easy as that. I can go and change it. So in the 3D Electrical tab, if I choose the route harness option, where you will now find this new option for route with splines. So after the routing is finished, the harness will now follow this predefined path. And to finish up and reduce waste of material, I can actually go and add the conductors, and I can go and make it so that they're all the same length. So we can go and splice the wires for all of the conductors. And then also supporting splines along with lines and arcs in creating a route path for electrical harnesses. This will greatly improve the versatility of routing electrical harnesses and geometrical complex products. Then as well, it's common practice to have multiple cables starting from a single connector point, and then have each of these cables go to different parts of the electrical system. So routing all of these cables does not provide the flexibility that the engineers want. So you will have the cable properties by including that separate 3D route assembly, like I've mentioned. And the same parameter can also be controlled in SOLIDWORKS route cable management, where we actually select, you'll see that there is the option for separate route. So if we already created 2 of these separate routing paths, one of each of these cables starting from the round 10-pin connector, and this will then bring signals from the outside world and connect the PC board. We will now choose this route, and then we can just take both of these cables and at once create 2 separate assemblies. So there I can just put everything back, and now we can go and create those 2 separate assemblies. So I strongly believe that these new and improved functionalities in electrical allows designers to create more complex and more feature-rich functionalities, and that'll just bridge the gap between the mechanical, the electrical, and the electronic disciplines. So this is really great enhancements from your SOLIDWORKS electrical schematic as well as the SOLIDWORKS 3D electrical side. And that is that from my side. So I am going to hand over to Quinton now again.
Great, thanks. Good job, Pierre. It's really good to see that SOLIDWORKS is not just improving, every year the CAD product, but all of these multi-products that you guys are using, and that's growing still.
Yes.
So brilliant, thank you. We got 5 minutes left. We're gonna now switch to Rudolph again. We're gonna talk for 2-3 minutes just about our support and the team. a lot of you are aware of the team around the country and how we work, but I just thought let's take 2 or 3 minutes just to introduce you to the MECAD support team. And Rudolph's going to talk about that for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we are going to end off just before 12, so we are on track. And I'm going to just complete the day talking about the drone and about the competition for tomorrow. So we are well on track for that. So Rudolph, if you want to just come back for a second. Pierre, take your finger and just tap your window and just tell Rudolph to turn his camera on. Thank you. The convenience of having everyone in the office there. So. Okay, Rudolph.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, absolutely. You can share your screen and we can go through your team quickly.
Perfect. Let me quickly like this. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Okay, it's not there yet, but I'm sure it'll be there in a second. There we go. It's on its way.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
so,
Rudolph, go for it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so thank you, Quentin. I just want to have 5 minutes just to introduce the MECAD systems operation. So Quentin mentioned this already. So we as the MECAD operation teams, we strive to give you, the customer, the best experience. So this could be with support, training, or any services. But so let me introduce the team to you. So we've got 13 application engineers in total. We've got 5 in the Centurion branch in Pretoria, 5 in Cape Town, and then 3 in Durban. So for those of you that are using our support, I'm pretty sure you have dealt with most of us before. So yeah, so if not, please get in touch with us. You can call or mail us at support@mecad.co.za. So we have a wide variety of expertise, and all of the application engineers are certified advanced support engineers. It's actually a certification that we need to complete from SolidWorks, so we all have that. So you are in good hands. Next, I want to brag a bit. So we have three elite application engineers now. New to get this amazing achievement is Pierre Lagrange and Dion Lagrange. So I think that's really well done for you guys. I think we can give them a virtual applause. So what is a elite application engineer? So if we're talking technical expertise, the best of the best is the SolidWorks elite application engineers. The elite AEs have knowledge and skills in the entire portfolio of SolidWorks products, and at least 7 product-specific certifications. So it's a really good achievement. And then we have 8, including the lead guys, SolidWorks experts, which is also a really good achievement to have. It's a wide knowledge of the SolidWorks product. So yeah, this just shows you we are the largest and most qualified SolidWorks reseller in South Africa, and I want to say in Africa as well. We love working with our customers and enjoy the challenges that is thrown our way. So please use our expertise. So why MECAD Systems? So MECAD Systems is the largest, and as I mentioned, the largest and most qualified SolidWorks technical team in South Africa. We provide you the best support with a service provider who you can partner with, just as important as the 3D design software that you choose. So we are locally, we've got 13 application engineers, a lot of knowledge and expertise, over 120 SolidWorks qualifications from all of us, 30 years experience with CAD, and over 500 customers all over South Africa.
You're missing a few thousand customers from your customers list there, Rudolph, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know, but yeah. And I see that. I think there's a 0 missing there.
Yeah.
SolidWorks, so yeah, we offer support from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. from Monday to Friday, obviously, as you guys know. And yeah, so please use us. We are available. So why subscription? So I think you wouldn't buy a car without a good warranty. So the MECAD system team keeps your program in running condition. We are knowledgeable, friendly, and easily accessible. We strive in making you feel like an important part of our MECAD family, and that's what we want to achieve for you. So we are SOLIDWORKS certified experts and can assist you with all things SOLIDWORKS related. We can provide you with training either at our offices or online. We do consultation and mentoring for any simulation, flow simulation, PDM, whatever you want to achieve with your design. So that's just a basic overview of what us as operations can do for you. So as I mentioned, please use us, and we are here for you. Okay,
and I think something interesting, Rudolf, about the certifications. You know, although we have to be certified to support you as our customers, you know, there's a wealth of certifications that you as customers can write. If you're on subscription, you can actually write your own certification exam. So if you're a manager or a team member and you want to maybe boost your CV or test your ability of the team that's around you, you have free access to, I don't know, I think 14 exams. So, you know, go ahead and have a look online or contact us and we can help you with that. Rudolf, can I share my screen again, and then I will wrap up. Thank you.